Hey, we want to thank Bill.com for sponsoring the Thrivecast. We've been using Bill.com in our own firm for many years with a sweet new user interface. It's an AI-enabled platform, international payments, all kind of things. We love Bill.com. Bill.com, thank you for sponsoring the Thrivecast. Hey, welcome to another episode of the Thrivecast. You know this is our 11th season. This is the second show of our 11th season, and we're so pumped. We turned these from just audio only to video cast too. So we're putting these on all the YouTube, all of the podcast channels, and we're so excited to continue to talk about entrepreneurship for accounting firm owners really all over the world. That's where our listeners are. And I have a special guest, Joe Erwin, and he's the co-founder, former president of a huge agency, Erwin Penland. A lot of people know about that. It's now EP+co, which he and his wife Gretchen opened back in '86. So he's been doing this for quite a while. Just small clients. He's had like Verizon, Denny's, Michelin, LL Bean, really small clients. And in 2015, he moved and not moved literally, but he actually started Erwin Creates, which is just a creative arm that does a co-working space. It is an office space that Julie and I actually have our Thrival headquarters in. And so since Joe was also bored, he started a professional soccer team, which who does that when they're bored? But Joe Erwin does. So instead of going through all that, I just want to talk through it and welcome Joe to the show. So Joe, thanks for hanging out with us on the Thrivecast.
It's great to be with you. Anytime you, Julie, call me, I'm going to be wherever you tell me to be.
Well, you have so much wisdom, and we're always walking around Endeavor, which is this space that you and Shannon created, which is gorgeous, right? Everybody knows it's a gorgeous space to work and be, and it's a very creative space. And so you and Shannon are always there supporting the entrepreneur. So thank you for doing that, and thank you for being on the show with us.
Yeah, it's an absolute pleasure, and knowing that there are a lot of accounting people on the show.
Yep.
I have a great appreciation for accountants because it is the key to running successful business.
It is.
That you know where the money is, how it's spent, how to allocate. It's a huge job, and I have great appreciation.
Well, cool.
And so it really is an honor to be with you.
Very cool. Well, Joe, so so just to get a little bit of the history, you came into town way back '80s and you built Erwin Penland at that time to a 400-person agency.
Right.
Is that what was the story of kind of you coming in town and starting that?
Yeah, my wife and I are from the South. She grew up in Lexington, Kentucky.
Okay.
I grew up all over Greenville, Tampa, Charlotte.
Yeah.
But we ended up in New York City together as newlyweds. She worked for one large agency. I was down the street with another one, two of the top 10 agencies in New York City at the time. And we loved it. We loved the time in Manhattan.
Yeah.
Great place to, and you're 20-something.
Oh, yeah, that's
and you're
fun,
married.
man.
And the jobs were stimulating. I used to tell people, Jason, and they'd say, what's it like to not have a car and live in New York City?
Yeah.
And I said, well, you walk everywhere. And I don't even think of it as so much as walking to work as floating. Because the pace of the city is so great. It's just stimulating to be there. But as a Southern boy, after about 4 years, the city starts to do this to me. You miss the ocean and the mountains and just green space.
Yeah.
You can only go to Central Park so many times.
That's right.
Gramercy Park or whatever. So we wanted to start our own company. And we came back to Greenville where we had met at an agency and started Erwin Penland. It was just the two of us.
Wow.
And one gentleman who we were in the process of buying out, Jerry Penland, and that's where the Penland of Erwin Penland comes from. He stayed with us only 90 days. So, that was his choice. Yeah, it was his choice. He wanted to retire. And so from there, we had to grow it with what resources we had. Life savings of $5,000. How we saved that much in 4 years, I don't know.
I know.
And yeah, you're right. It took off, and we became one of the 5 largest ad agencies in the southern U.S., I think.
Grief,
yeah, and we were acquired by Hill Holiday
Yeah.
out of Boston, which was
Mhm.
part of IPG,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
continued to run it. The trio that was in leadership, we continued to run it for them for 10 years.
Mm.
And Gretchen retired after the first 20 years.
Yeah.
I stayed on for another 10.
Wow.
And then left to start Erwin Creates.
That is so awesome. So when somebody grows something to be that large, I know there's a lot of luck sometimes in entrepreneurship.
Sure.
But you're making a lot of strategic, difficult decisions
Right.
to try to grow a company to 400. I think a lot of small service-based companies, really, they're going to struggle up into the 25, 30, 40 people.
Yeah.
You making leaps into those kind of sizes.
Right.
You're building leadership structures that are just completely complex.
Yeah.
So what did you want to do something that big? Or,
Yes. Yeah. We had an appetite for growth and thought that, in that space of advertising agency, primarily PR to a lesser extent, it's either grow or die. Because if you're not growing, you're going to lose accounts. You can bet on that.
Yeah, that's how that works.
That's how it works.
Yeah.
So why not continuously win businesses, gain new clients, and grow? And there's such fun in growth. You and I were talking before we started today, surrounding yourself with bright people who are highly motivated. And, an ad agency is a different animal than manufacturing and a lot of other businesses. It's, our inventory goes up and down the elevators every day. So
and and it's hard to manage that.
It's hard to manage that. Yeah. And particularly in creative services, you get a lot of divas, boys and girls who are divas in the advertising business, but they're also fun people to be around.
Yeah.
And as long as they're interesting and helped us work hard and do a great job for our clients, that's what it's all about. Just the way the people watching your show are all about their client businesses because we're all here to help others.
Yeah.
And I took it as kind of a humble servant mentality. Let's help other people. And we made it part of the mantra that we only existed to help others succeed.
Man, that's
wasn't about us.
Yeah. And so you embedded that in a culture. And
Absolutely.
So is that why you kept good people? Like you're still in touch with a lot of your leaders. They're just still part of your life. And some of them are at, Erwin.
There's no doubt. If you want to keep, develop, and nurture people, one, find good people to begin with.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a quick story. This is too much fun.
Yeah.
We held a leadership conference every year for about 9 years until it just got to be so time consuming.
Yeah,
we had to kind of put it in the history books. But we had people from all over the country and brought in speakers who could talk about brands and companies and lessons in leadership and brand management. And we had a guy, Dave Ridley. He was the chief marketing officer, chief revenue officer for Southwest Airlines.
Wow.
One of the great companies, in America.
Oh, yeah.
And he's telling these stories about customer service. And he would preach about customer service because it was such a mantra for Southwest.
Yeah.
And somebody just raises their hand and says, Dave, question for you. How is it that you train your employees to be so happy?
Yeah.
And
on every plane.
He looks everybody in the eye and goes, and he laughed. And he said, we don't. We hire happy people.
Oh, that's awesome.
And, I'm sitting there going, well, darn, write that down. Hire happy people. Go back to your place of business and have a talk with the rest of your leadership team and say, hey, let's not focus quite as much on technical skill. But let's focus on people who want to be around people, make others successful. And if they're happy, if you can tell that in an interview, there's a good chance they're going to help others be happy.
Yeah.
And we just found that if you do that for your employees and you give them opportunities to grow, they'll stay with you for a long time. So yes, it's an honor to be around a lot of people who came through our doors and have gone on to do a lot of other things. And we're still close.
Yeah. Well, so, we have that same vision for building a culture where first and foremost, your team can be authentically cared for, loved, free to be creative, to have ideas and thoughts. And they just they transform your own company. You
Absolutely.
you don't have to make it be what you want it to be. You get to let the culture form that company into what you want it to be.
Yeah.
Now, one thing though that's hard when you do that is when you have some vision for some team. You're like, oh, they're awesome, man. They're going to be here forever. And they come and they go, I'm just not into it. I'm leaving in a month. And you're like, what? You're my person. What do you do when leaders do that or when people do that? And you had such hopes for them. And there's such a bedrock to a company. It blows the company up a little bit for trying to replace them. What do you do in those situations?
Yeah, it's a great question.
That's hard.
There is only one thing to do, and that is to wish them well and tell them that you appreciate them and what they did. Ask them if they know others who are like-minded and who want to come learn and thrive in a place like where you're working, what you're building, and know that if you part company as friends. Yeah. If they know that you care about them as much as you care about your vision and what you're trying to do, you might not. Yeah. You really might not.
That's right.
But try and live that anyway. You said something a minute ago that's a word that doesn't get talked about in business, and it should. Yeah. And that's love.
Yeah, for sure.
It's somewhat biblical, I suppose, that as long as we're all here, we might as well love each other.
That's right.
Because in business, you learn that by unselfishly just loving people and what they're going through, that you will win in the end. We lost some great people. And there were times I wanted to just smack them.
like, we're awesome. You don't want to leave us.
How could you leave us? But, they've got reasons. Maybe they can't even share with you. Maybe they can't even express adequately.
They don't know.
And you have to respect that.
Yeah, yeah.
So you just move on.
Yeah.
And we used to say, and I think every leader should have this mentality. When somebody leaves and people around you are looking at you like, what are you going to do? This is terrible. Yeah. Just go, next person up. Yeah. We're going to replace, Susan with somebody even better.
Okay.
And you have to believe it.
You lead with hope.
You lead with hope always.
So people are not freaking out around you, even if you might be upset.
You can never freak out, or you can never show it.
Okay.
Never.
Okay.
Never, ever.
Well, it helps what you're saying because Julie and I, the way we lead our team, when we bring them in, we almost can't help but to love them. We're like,
that's right.
We're actually it comes out of a gratefulness. We're like, wait, you're going to commit your career to our valuable position that we're trying to take. And so it's a gratefulness to say thank you to them. But then when you love them and they leave, you get hurt. And then you're like, but that's part of it, right? Because then you go love the next person. And that's just what you got to deal with, the ups and downs of the love of strong people that you want in your life forever. Is that you just got to deal with it?
Yeah, you do. You just have to deal with it. And I think that's maturity. Yeah, and understanding it's not going to be your opportunity to influence everybody to the point of not doing or of doing what they don't really feel is in their heart and mind.
You can't make them.
Yeah, I had a realization, and I don't want to use the I word too much in this because we're all still learning, right?
Yeah, oh man.
But one realization came over me years and years ago. I've said this a number of times to people in my leadership teams, that one day after starting a little, tiny speck of an advertising agency all those years ago, and we grew from 2 to 50 to 100. And in advertising agency terms, that's starting to get to be a big agency. So by the time we were, 400 people, along the way somewhere it hit me. I just said this off the top of my head one night at an agency retreat. And it's worth remembering. I said out loud, when you come here, you don't work for me. I work for you. Because, up until that time when you're an entrepreneur, and you think about it for your viewers and listeners today, think about the fact that it is your job to work for them. Yeah. And not the other way around.
That's right.
And I promise you, when you take on that attitude, you're going to have employees that care more because they get it that, holy cow, that guy could just go in his office and close the door and just bark out orders and send out memos. And no, he's out here caring more about us and our careers and what we want to get out of this experience. And you do that, and guess what happens? They'll run through brick walls for you.
That's so awesome.
So it's either the right thing to do,
right,
or it's just manipulative as hell. I don't know which.
Who knows? But it does come out of your heart. You do.
It does.
Because entrepreneurs, and if you know the people listening are entrepreneurs, but it is a lifestyle, right? When you become an entrepreneur, it is a mental and emotional devotion of your life. Yeah. Your body, your mind, your heart. And if you love what you're doing, that's all great. It can wear you down sometimes.
Absolutely.
And so, but there's no sense going through that with people you just don't want to be around, or people that just don't want to be where you are.
Yeah.
And so it's worth hiring the right people. Now, we teach a lot of our Thrival members too. We're actually doing a course on hiring pretty soon about the first 90 days of hiring and the keys to that first 90 days. And we have learned it. I mean, we try these tests, personality profiles, and you eventually figure out, wait, this is not all science. There's science, there's demographic, there's gut.
Yeah.
Like, what are some principles to hire well? Because you said earlier, hire the right people and you're going to kill it.
Yeah.
But how the heck do you hire the right people? Is there a 5-point test, or is there a process, or do you just get lucky all the time?
Well, boy, that's a good one. That's a loaded question, and you
that's
know
hard.
it.
That's hard.
Shame on you.
Answer the question.
Answer the question. Yeah, I feel like I'm being interrogated.
That's right.
Here.
Tell me the answer, please.
Well, you start. Yeah, there are a few things. One, you start with what you don't want, or what you can't have, and we talked about this all the time. We still talk about it at Endeavor.
Yeah.
No jerks allowed.
Love it.
No jerks. Now, we don't say jerks. We say something more,
direct,
descriptive about their backsides. But we will not have that. You know, I did some of that early on in building, an ad agency, and after a while, it just wears you out.
Yeah.
And you go, why do we have to put up with her?
Yeah.
Or him just being an absolute jerk to other people
for no reason.
So you can't tolerate it.
Yeah.
And the best way to avoid what to do about it is not to start with it.
Okay.
So if you detect, and I really do believe in checking people out. If you're not checking references, and I mean deeply, shame on you.
Okay.
So that's one thing.
So you're saying do your due diligence on hiring.
Yeah.
That's one of the most important things. Don't skip on that. Okay.
And resumes don't mean a damn thing.
Yeah. Okay.
They just don't.
So you got to check people out.
Got to check people out.
Okay.
And then you really do want the interview. Some of my leaders had certain questions they would ask, and there's a magical question or two. I never believed that.
Yeah.
What in interviewing, get to know somebody.
Yeah.
Instead of just asking what they did at their last job and how much success did they create. Sure.
Yeah.
You want to know those things.
Yeah.
But ask them what they like to do on Saturdays.
That's cool.
Or, at night when they're not working, you like to cook?
Yeah.
Oh, me too.
Yeah.
And then let it just become a dialogue. And over the course of that session, you'll find out who the person is. How they feel about dogs. If they hate dogs, to hell with them. If you have somebody come into my place and tell me dogs are terrible and you don't want to be around a dog ever, then I don't want to be around you ever. Sorry.
So it's knowing who you are,
yeah,
and knowing who you want to be with you and to grow with you. Now that's interesting, especially in an accounting field. Well, in an agency, you start to focus on the technical, right? You
have to focus on the technical.
Okay, so you're saying do that.
Yeah, but it's both because you want a rounded person.
Yeah.
So in accounting, the technical skills are so demanding.
Yeah.
And specific,
tax
that you can learn quickly.
Yeah,
what type of what's this person got? Do they have the goods for the job? That's the technical stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
And beyond that, do they want to grow? Do they want to help lead others?
Yeah.
So a lot of people, if you just ask them, they'll tell you, I really want to be part of leading and building a great organization.
Yeah.
If you have people telling you that, give them a chance.
Oh, man.
And, you know, here's the other thing I believe in, and I don't think I'm alone in this. Let young people thrive. I mean, God, get out of the way. We learn more and more that, you know, these 20-somethings and 30-somethings, you know, they're waiting for the chance to lead. And if you're trying to do it all by yourself and not letting them have time on stage, whatever the stage is for you, presentations. I had the good fortune to witness in my New York years an account supervisor, a very senior guy when I was just a wet behind the ears punk. And I go into a room and there are not enough seats at the table. And here this guy's kind of at the head of the table. And I'm kind of in the back and can't even get to the table. And so I'm going to pull up a chair and I'm, you know, back against the wall, just some nobody, right? What do you think this guy did?
He invited you to the table.
He invited me to the table and he said, take my seat. And he sat away from the table and let the leadership teams and some of his younger people just take over. And he sat there and he knew a little bit about me, that I had a desire to do some of that.
Yeah.
Was I ready? No.
No.
But he wanted to see how ready I was. Give young people a chance.
I love that.
Isn't that great?
So what does that mean in a business? So let's say you have a team of 15.
Yeah.
So we lead meetings every week. So let them lead.
Let them lead a meeting.
Okay.
You know, find out, you know, quickly. And if you're in accounting, advertising, personal services work of any kind, at some point, people are going to have to present.
Yeah.
And you've got to be good on your feet. And if they're not, you know, there are some jobs and there's some places in an accounting firm where maybe that's not necessary.
Yeah.
But you're going to have human interaction.
Yeah, for sure you do.
So find out how good they are on their feet. And you don't find out until you put a little pressure on them.
But you don't want to, people don't want to pressure their team.
No. And but if you don't challenge people, if you don't give them the opportunity, because you know what they want to do, Jason? They want to go home, you know, at the end of the day and say, wow, guess what happened to me today?
Yeah.
You know, Joe called on me and asked me to come up and present part of the such and so presentation. I've never done that. Well, how'd it go, honey?
Yeah.
You know, it was great. And they all clapped at the end of it.
And so they're learning feedback about themselves.
Yeah, they're getting that support.
Yeah.
And probably they'll get a little coaching afterwards.
Yeah.
And be told, hey, a couple things you might want to remember.
Yeah.
And, you know, but when you criticize, I think the best thing to do is you don't call somebody out, never undress them or tell them in front of people. No, don't even go there.
Yeah.
Now, the way to do that is to wrap your arm around them and just tell them person to person.
Yeah.
Joe, here's what you might want to do next time.
Yeah.
Think about this.
Yeah.
They'll take that all day long.
It. So a lot of times if we're trying to put somebody out there to let them lead, we're thinking about our client. We're like, will they screw up this relationship? Like, and that's a fearful place too.
It is. And I've seen it happen. You have too.
Yeah.
And you've got to be careful. You know, practice really does matter.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of us who are, you know, think we're gamers, we don't want to practice.
That's right.
We just let me do the show, baby. Come on, let's go.
Get on stage.
Well, guess what? My business development head, you know her, Shannon Wilbanks, she used to say, I don't care what you say. You may be the president. We're doing a practice tonight at 6 o'clock.
Sounds like my partner.
17 people are going to be here for 3 hours starting at 6 p.m. and we'll have dinner brought in. But we're doing the whole presentation. Everybody's going to do it, and then we're going to critique it the next morning, and then we're going to do it again. And you go, you know, oh my God, you're killing me.
I can pull this off. I'm awesome, right?
Because the time I didn't insist upon that, it might have been before Shannon joined our team, I let 2 people in. I was trying to be the nice guy, the leader everybody loved.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that too, because being loved is not what it's all about.
That's right.
And I wanted to give these 2 young people a chance to present. Didn't have any practice. Go into the room, they died on stage. I don't know how to describe it any different.
They blew it up.
They blew it. And it really, we didn't win the account. And we had to go home, you know, those of us who knew better and say, well, that's on me.
Yeah.
I messed that up. Yeah. I had these two people, I can name their names today. That was over 25 years ago.
Oh my gosh.
I put them in a position to fail. They had no chance. They weren't ready. They didn't know the material. They'd never stood in front of people and gotten, used to the, what do I do about my shaking leg?
Yeah.
You got to go through some of that in practice.
Okay. That is amazing.
Yeah.
So
Ted Lasso will teach you a lot about practice.
I knew you had to watch Ted Lasso.
There's my commercial for Ted Lasso.
We're gonna get to that here in a minute. But it's interesting what you said is we do as leaders, we do love our team, but we can take that to a fault, and we do want them to love us. And so we want to be that fun person.
Yeah.
And there's something to that. Yeah. But boy, that can take you down a wrong, dark road too. And so how do you, or is your goal to make your team like you?
Well,
maybe that's not a goal.
It was mine.
Okay.
I wanted to be loved. I didn't know it. I tell you a quick story if you've got a minute.
Yeah.
I went to a somewhat legendary business leader here in the Greenville, South Carolina area, and I was telling him about a problem I was having. I was very young, president, CEO, whatever you want to call it. And I had somebody that was begging to be fired, really needed to be.
Wow.
One of those, we let a jerk in the door, and she got worse as she felt like she had more power.
Right.
And I'm describing the situation to him. And this guy was very wise. Everybody in town, thought he was among the wisest people in town.
Wow.
And he listens to me patiently for like 15 minutes. And he said, "How long have you been putting up with this?" I said, "Oh, it's been about a year." And he goes, "Okay." And he said, "You know what your problem is, Joe?" I said, "No." He goes,
"Tell me."
"Your problem is you want everybody to love you." And as soon as he said it, I went, ouch.
You knew it was true.
I knew it was true.
I knew it was true.
And he said, "How do you think I knew that?" I had no idea. And he said, "Because I was the same guy." And he said, "Here's what you need to understand, and what everybody listening and watching needs to understand. If people love you, great, but that's not what is required. They must respect you. And if you let somebody exist in a leadership position because you think she's good to you or he's good to you, well, of course they're good to you. But they may be mistreating everybody else.
Okay.
But if you let that stay because you don't want to be unpopular with him or her, then you're letting everybody else down. And a leader does not tolerate that. So he told me that he'd been through the same thing, and his wife jerked a knot in him. And one night he came home and she listened to him complain for months. And she finally said to him, "Do you want to tell me this story again tomorrow night, the way you have for the last 200 nights?
Are you going to fire the person?
Or do you want to go to sleep and sleep well tomorrow night?"
Right.
He fired the person the next day. And I learned that lesson, I think, for everybody here today. But you have the courage to actually lead. Leadership does not take reading books. I'm not against books. I've read a lot of books.
Yeah.
But leadership is having some common sense and some courage. And if you don't have courage or common sense, I don't care how many degree black belt, summa leader, whatever, all that bullshit. Forget it. You got no chance.
That's right. Because you're going to be faced with situations where you're going to have to be courageous.
Yes.
There's just no way around it.
And
situations where you don't know what to do, and you're going to have to make a move, make a decision, wrong or right, and it may not mean people like you all the time.
And it's going to hurt.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't hurt, then you're not human enough.
Yeah.
But you know what? You've got to do it. You've got to.
I love it. That is some wisdom. So, Joe, something's going on in this pandemic market, in the labor market, is really weird. And entrepreneurs that are growing businesses, they try to sift through it and understand what's happening so they can find good people. And especially in the accounting profession, I think this is true in the creative services area too, where a lot of teams are up and leaving. They're moving away from a lot of the accounting firm leaders that we lead in a lot of our programs.
Right.
Yet also they're hiring and they can't find people to hire. And so we're trying to figure out the solution. But What do you do when markets change on you? You know, sometimes there's a boom market. And you're like, crap, we're growing. Everybody wants to buy more from us. And then there's markets where everybody's scared. And so your clients pull their funds back, you know?
Right.
How do you navigate that stuff? Now you have a team with salaries, right? So you've committed to them, and then you have this market over another, 6 to 9 months, and they start to pull back some of their funding.
Yeah.
How do you navigate just weird markets that you couldn't expect or you don't know what to do with? What do you do with that?
Well, that goes to, having the goal of growing, always growing, because you know that there will be times when you're going to lose business or clients will just spend less.
Yep.
So if you're growing, you can still keep the team together, because otherwise you lay people off.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
Yeah.
And it's that painful.
That's hard too.
But that's a $64,000 question,
Right,
if you will. And the one thing I do know, and I'm not sure I'm qualified to answer that definitively, but do know this: recessions come and go. And part of
that's nice.
A mindset is to have this mindset, perhaps.
Yeah.
I know there's a recession. Say to yourself,
right,
I know there's a recession.
It's real.
I choose not to participate. I said that to a friend years ago in one of the recessions, and he just laughed out loud. And he said, "Are you serious?"
Yeah.
I said, "Yeah, I'm dead serious. We're just not going to participate in the recession." And so
I'm laughing. That's great.
We just kept pitching for new business. When some of our current stuff went down, we said, all right, before we blow this thing up or think there's something wrong with us, let's go beat the streets and hit the streets and, try and gin up some new business to fill in the gaps. And you can do that in a lot of personal services companies. I would say in accounting, it's still a people business.
Yeah, it is.
And, the word gets, for accountancies, I think it's all about what's the reputation.
Yeah, for
reputation is everything.
Huge.
With accountants. When somebody tells me you're looking for a new accounting partner, I'm going to say, what do you think of the people? Not the skill sets.
Yeah.
I mean, tell me they're qualified.
Yeah.
But will they sit down with me? Will they really understand how we make our money?
Yeah.
Because being good listeners, I think, I listen to accountants and boy, I'm like, locked in.
Yeah.
Tell me, because I don't know your world.
Right.
But you listen to me about my business and about what we're doing and understand where the pain is and the opportunity and coach. But being good listeners and listen to the market and to what people are telling you about why folks are picking up and leaving. There is a seismic shift, right?
Yeah.
Going on because of the pandemic. That's not like any recession we've ever seen.
Yeah.
It's fundamentally changing. I saw we're one of the largest accounting firms yesterday just put in, I think, about $150 million into co-work spaces. Because we're going to fundamentally change the way we work. And that was into WeWorks, which is blown up once.
Oh, yeah.
And is now kind of being reborn. And it's fascinating. You have to change with the time.
Yeah.
But don't change who you are.
Okay.
So for your accounting firm, for your personal services company, never change your belief in who you are, what you are, how you do business. So don't ever let your values change with the market.
Okay.
Just change the way you approach things.
Okay. So you're saying you got your core values, your culture, your team.
Yeah.
You rally around that.
Absolutely.
Always.
Always.
And you have the courage as a leader to move the jerks out that don't need to be there. But as the market changes, change your business model around, change your team structure, change your pricing model. You have to be willing to die to old things to survive.
That's right.
Okay. And that's what matters.
Yeah, and that's also some of the fun stuff. The famous CEO of General Electric for so many years, Jack Welch.
Yep.
He used to talk about, and I didn't agree with this, by the way, but about pruning every year and like cutting 10% or maybe 20, I don't even know, of your labor pool every year, just cutting them. And I'm going, that sounds harsh. However, there's some fairness to it that, even when you're growing, when times are good, we tend to let growth sometimes cover up some warts.
Oh, so true.
We think, we're making more money, we're growing, we got more clients, more employees, blah, blah, blah. And you find out, well, we're still kind of sloppy because our margins really aren't that good.
Right.
Maybe we need to do a little pruning.
Yeah.
And that takes courage.
That's hard.
That's hard as hell.
That's hard, man.
And I wasn't good at it.
That's
because
hard.
even after I learned the lessons of being, courageous and doing the hard things, I still ultimately am a softie.
Right. You still gonna struggle with that.
Still gonna struggle.
Yeah.
But I tell you what about firing somebody. Now here's the lesson in that. I don't know about your listeners watching today, your viewers. After you fire somebody for the first time, the second one's a whole lot easier.
It is. You got to get over the hump.
You get over the hump. If it's somebody who deserves to be fired.
Right.
Layoffs, that's different. That hurts deeper than any hurt there is when it's not because of anything they did.
They did, yeah.
You just have to make a correction.
Yeah.
But firing a jerk, no, it's like, all right.
5 minutes.
5
You're
minutes.
out.
Get a box. Let me show you where the street is.
Yeah, that's how you do it. Yeah. Well, cool. Well, Joe, I know we're going to wrap up, but I do have to ask you about your other endeavors, which is funny. That's the name of the co-work you and Shannon started.
Yep.
You are into endeavors, if nobody is, Joe. Yeah. So you're running this, Erwin Penland, 400-person agency. A few years ago, you start a professional soccer league. Did you know what you were doing?
Hell no. I still don't.
You got your Triumph shirt on, and I'm like, what are you doing? Like, how complex to move to a whole different thing you've never done before? Yeah. Were you scared, and why did you do that?
Apple Plus, Ted Lasso, watch it, you'll know. Why? Well, I played soccer in high school and found it to be just a great sport. We learn a lot of team skills and leadership skills playing sports,
we
right?
Do, yeah.
I think any man or woman watching this today, if they played any kind of sports, you benefit from that.
Yeah.
And I did, certainly. And a quick story, I know you've got to wrap up.
That's right.
But I was on a team, my first year playing in high school, it was the first year of the sport in high school.
That school.
Yeah, of that school.
Okay.
And and that school's right here in Greenville, South Carolina, in the suburb of Taylors.
Come on.
Come on. And we had 11 white kids, on the team.
Yeah.
We sucked. I mean, we were horrible, Jason. Horrible.
Bad.
We had one of the worst records in the whole state. Our school was late joining the movement to start high school soccer.
Oh.
The next year, I'm the captain. It's my senior year of high school, just our second year as a team. A few things happened. As the captain, I did a little recruiting, but had some stuff fall into our lap, too.
Yeah.
Foreign exchange students.
Nice.
One from India, Rai Banerjee, and one from Argentina, Martin Maciel.
You know him.
Darn right I know him. Because here, I was captain, and our coach didn't know. He was new too.
Yeah.
He'd been like a math teacher or something. And he became one of the great coaches in the state of South Carolina.
That's amazing.
But we went from being the worst team to the best team in the state, undefeated my senior year. And it showed me something. It showed me.
Joe, that's amazing.
Yeah. It taught me what real diversity means.
Yeah.
Not politically correct diversity.
Right.
And that's got a place.
Yeah.
But because we had African Americans and Argentinian, Indian, and some new athletes in the mix, it was amazing, and we all learned from each other. Like I made the joke all the time to the other guys on the team, guys, when either Rai or Martine have the ball, just get out of their way. Okay?
Move to the side.
We'll do 5. And we were winning by scores of like 7-2.
Oh my gosh, like you were embarrassing people at the same time.
We were really good. and then over time, you see in sport, there's only one sport in the world that I know of, and I don't know enough. But I think there's only one where the game is exactly the same for girls and boys. Same ball, same field, same net, everything. It's not even true in lacrosse. The equipment's different and stuff.
I didn't know that.
And so, that there's a democratization for that.
Yeah.
And you don't need money. Yeah. That's why whether you're in Rwanda or Rhode Island, boys and girls can play soccer.
Yeah.
And there's just something about that brings joy to people. And our mission at Triumph is, I think, a great mission. It spoke to what we started with today, which is something based in love, which is, it's not about soccer games. Soccer's fun, but it's just a platform. Our mission is to create and spread joy, period.
That is awesome.
There's no mention of soccer in our mission statement. It's just create and spread joy. And along the way, we've had a pretty good team or two.
Yeah.
There's a reason there's a star.
Well, you've won championships.
Because we're the league champions of USL League One. So, that's when you do that, when you achieve that, and winning games is not even part of your mission statement, it tells you what's possible.
Yeah.
And that's true of the folks on this call today or this, broadcast, is that if you base your mission and not a mission statement, maybe it's a core purpose.
Yeah.
If your core purpose is so big that it really brings everybody into it and everybody knows, I want some of that. I want to create joy. I want to spread that. Hell, you can do anything.
Yeah. And you end up winning games,
and you end up winning games, and that's not bad.
Right.
And part of that, too, is, guess what? We hired arguably the best coach in America. He's in the Soccer Hall of Fame, John Harkes. And again, that speaks to hiring incredible talent.
Wow.
And then, do you know how often I have to tell John Harkes how to run the team and what plays? Never.
They need you to not do that.
I do not do that.
You just go, thank you, John.
Yes. I do that with every member of the organization because, again, let's remember what we said before. They don't work for me.
Right.
I work for them.
Right. You're there to let them shine.
That's right.
And in soccer, for sure, right, they do have the platform.
Oh.
Every single week.
Day.
Right?
And
you're always in the stands.
Yeah.
You're not on the field.
Oh, no. I haven't scored yet this year.
Yeah, you're not one of the stars.
No. My playing days are over. But hell, that doesn't mean we can't feel like winners in what we're doing.
Yeah.
I think when I ride around town and see this shield
it's
on
everywhere.
Bumpers of cars.
It's everywhere in Greenville.
Incredible. It's
you're
incredible.
Like, that's amazing.
That's why we need to build a stadium, which is another story for another day.
Well, it's just wild you would dive into something that can be so new, so complex, right? And you just wade through it. But if you wade through it with the joy of going, there's just going to be another 20 people I get to spend my life with. That can't go wrong.
That sucks. Just be with the same people over and over. You got to constantly, forge new pathways and try things. We were talking, your partner, Julie, and I are the type who bore quickly.
That's right.
And I love endeavor.
Right.
And I love what we've created. 20,000 square feet,
It's
about
beautiful.
135 members all told.
Yeah.
And it's cool. But if I just ran that and nothing else, no, I'd go stir crazy, partner. It'd be saying,
you need multiple things to keep you busy.
You'd say hi to me at the coffee machine, and you get that guy something to do.
He's one of the jerks you got to fire.
Yeah, I got to go look in the mirror to fire the latest
That's right.
jerk. Yeah.
That's so cool. Well, Joe, this is awesome just to hear you talk about your journey and
thanks.
All the endeavors you're getting into and why, and just to hear your heart is about, man, it is all about people.
It is.
Just to who do I get to be with in life more so that I can care and love people and spread joy? And
it's a pretty good deal.
Man, if that's the basis of your culture, you tend to sell more accounts and sell more accounting and win more games if you got your head on straight.
It's weird how that can actually work. How that can actually be a business strategy.
I know.
Is you can't put it on paper too much. In fact, last thing I'll say, when people ask me over the years, we started a few companies along the way. What's your business plan?
Yeah.
Let me see that before we sign up, get on board, loan you money, whatever.
Right.
I can put it on a napkin. We don't need to do a 30-page business plan.
Right.
No, it's not that complicated.
Right.
And I'm not going to go read 4 books on leadership either. Courage, common sense, and serving others.
Yeah, I love it. Very cool. Well, cool. Well, thank you, Joe, for being on the Thrivecast with us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me over.
It's been great to have you.
All right, bud.
All right, take care.
See ya.
See ya.